So, you're here, no doubt, because you've gotten one of these. Failure to pay rent, landlord's complaint. Simply put, this means that the landlord is asking the judge to evict you because you didn't pay the rent on time. Make sure to get to court on time and bring your court notice. If you are late, you may lose your chance to defend yourself. First, check the court docket for the list of cases to be heard today. They're listed alphabetically by address, not by name. The landlords, their agents, or attorneys are often in the hallway before court begins. Even if you haven't paid your rent for whatever reason, consider speaking with the landlord to see if you can either resolve the problem or agree on a settlement. But do not leave. Do not allow the agent to handle the case without you. The only person that can assure that you receive a fair hearing where your side of the story is heard is you. Do not leave without the judge hearing your case. If you do make an agreement with the landlord, make sure to get a receipt for any money that you pay and stay in court so that you and the landlord can tell the judge about the agreement that was made. This is for your protection as well as for the landlord. When you come into court, check in with the clerk so that they know you're present. Once your case is called by the clerk, go to the table on your left. The table on the right is for the landlord or agent. From here on out, the only person you should address is the judge.
All rise. The District Court of Maryland is now in session. The Honorable Judge Batson presiding.
Correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones, do you owe rent in the amount of $75?
Yeah, but
The court rules in favor of the landlord. $75 plus court fees.
If you have a defense or don't agree with the charges, say so.
Mr. Jones, do you owe rent in the amount of $75?
I don't agree with the landlord, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
The $75 is not part of my rent. It's a citation that the landlord received because the trash area isn't large.
It's not the point, Marcus. You didn't put your trash in the right place.
There was nowhere else to put it. The trash room is not large enough for
You
everybody.
will be respectful in this court. Please address your comments to the court, not to each other. Asking the court to authorize an eviction for non-payment of rent. Can you prove that the amount of rent that the tenant owes is classified as rent under the law, and that the lease defines it as rent?
I have the lease right here, Your Honor.
After reviewing the lease, I find that the citation isn't classified as rent, and the citation is not rent under the law in any event. The citation, therefore, cannot be collected in this court. The court rules in favor of the tenant. Case dismissed. Mr. Jones, you're free to go.
The rental agreement is what tells both landlords and tenants how they're supposed to deal with each other. A rental agreement may be a written lease agreement like the one Marcus had, but an oral month-to-month agreement is a valid rental agreement as well. Let the court know you have a defense. In court, speak only to the judge, not the landlord. Bring any evidence
Was made this morning.
Do you agree with the settlement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. Case dismissed.
So here's what just happened. Teresa showed up to court, found the landlord's agent, and they made an agreement as to how much money she would pay to have the case dismissed. She made the payment before court began, got a receipt, and then stayed to make sure that everything went according to the agreement. You see, the burden of proof lies on the landlord. That means that the landlord has to prove to the court that they own the property, that it was rented to the tenant, and that the tenant didn't pay the rent on time. The landlord writes all of this in the complaint and swears it is true under oath. If you are not there to tell your side of the story, no one is going to do it for you. Any of the other cases that were heard where the tenant did not show up are automatically granted to the landlord. The landlord's burden of proof was met, and the court granted a judgment for possession. Before we go any further, let's review some details. Make sure to come to court and be on time, or you will be dumping the abandoned property in a public street or on public property. Now that you know the date of the eviction, you know how much time you have left to either pay the amount of rent, court costs, and late fees that the court ordered, or you need to move out.
Good afternoon. I'm here to carry out this eviction notice. Mr. Burton, have you delivered the 3 notices?
Yes, I have the first-class mail receipt, the certified mail receipt, and the signed affidavit that the notice was posted.
Very well then. Ms. Clarice, you and your family have to leave now. The landlord is going to change the locks. Anything left in the house will be considered abandoned property and he will have to dispose of it legally. It is illegal to leave any property in the public street or on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Clarice, it's time to go.
Don't let this happen to you. When you get the notices, you'll know the date of the eviction. You have 2 choices. Number 1, pay the amount that the court ordered in order to stop the eviction. Or number 2, move out before the eviction. If you are still there when the sheriff arrives, you will lose all of the possessions that are in the house. Your voice is the only thing that can protect you. Even though the landlord has to prove to the court that you owe the rent, you are your only defense. And if they say that you owe $500 and you're not there to say that you don't think so, no one is going to do it for you. Remember, know your rights, know your resources, and use your voice.